Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you. Thank you. So good to be home again. I'm always delighted to be here. Please take your seats. And I want to thank a lot of incredible individuals in this room. One is that I have very good taste in picking out my commissioners. Buffalo's own Tim Hogues, our Commissioner of Civil Service, is here. Our Mayor, Chris Scanlon, is here. Please take a bow. Deputy County Executive, Lisa Shamiro. Our Comptroller, Kevin Hardwick. All my partners in government, Trina Burris, the President of United Way. My gosh, she has challenges. But I want to thank her for being a great leader. Larry Pernick, the Executive Director of the Northwest Buffalo Community Center, where we are right now. Thank you, Larry. Former Mayor Tony Masiello has joined us as well. Mayor, great to see you. All of my friends here. You know, we talk a lot about public service, but people across the state aren't quite sure why I got this gene or this inclination, this passion for public service. And it started right here in Western New York. And I was that 16-year-old from Hamburg High School would take an hour bus ride zigzagging through Lackawanna. I stopped at all the great locations, met a lot of friends on the bus, happy to get out of school for half a day, and I became an intern for politics, but also the New York State Assembly office. And by the time I was 18, I had a real fancy business card, Kathy Hochul, Special Assistant to the Speaker of the New York State Assembly. It's kind of fun in a bar, like, yeah, look at my job, I'm a big shot. Just kidding. But this is where I cut my teeth. This is where I ran for local office 31 years ago. This is where I ran for county office. This is where I ran for Congress, lieutenant governor, governor. And this is the community that taught me the value of serving others. Because Buffalo isn't just a city of good neighbors. It's a city of great neighbors. People lift each other up and take care of each other. And that's why I am the way I am. I learned about grit and generosity and community and pride right here. And I made a promise that I would fight for this city with every fiber of my being, because I know what it's like when you're knocked down. I know what it's like when people count you out. And I know what it's like to not get the brass ring of the Super Bowl yet, okay? It's all right, we can talk about it. It's kind of like a group therapy session, right? Because there's always next year, and next year is right around the corner. But I want to lift this community up and encourage it to believe in themselves again, because we have so much going for us. And I'm so excited to be here, because we're doing a lot. Just a few days ago, how is it now? I'm going to ask a question. East Buffalo or East Side? Because I heard both.
East Side.
Okay. All right, I'm very democratic. All those who savor in saying East Side, raise your hand and shout. Okay. All those in favor of East Buffalo, raise your hand and shout. Okay.
Good choice.
Staff, take it out of my remarks. East Side is back. So $10 million for the East Side Building Fund. We want to assist in renovating the buildings, the great architecture that sometimes gets covered over with the out-of-business signs or the plywood, and that's not a welcoming experience for the community who lives there or people want to visit there. We get to revitalize our neighborhoods. That's on top of $260 million already invested there to protect our iconic sites that we have, MLK Park and Broadway Market and so many others, because I believe in those assets. I've been there. I know what they're all about. They're part of our identity. But I also had a broader message back in January when I announced my State of the State address. I said, your family is my fight. And I learned that fighting spirit right here, and I meant it, because right now, there are so many people across this state and in this community who are struggling. Life's been hard. Sometimes it feels unfair. And raising a family here in Western New York, I know what it's like. I was that mom clenching coupons, walking into BJ's, that giant shopping cart. Sometimes I had two, like diapers and formula and paper towels and toilet paper and dishwashing detergent, all that stuff you need. And I was making a whopping $12,000 take-home pay as a town board member. So we weren't feeling real rich. My husband was in government. We were blessed, but you know what? Still had to pay the bills, still had to pay the mortgage. And my life was burdened a lot of other people, and I know that. I know that because I was raised by a family, social justice Catholics. My parents would bring us into the city when we were kids. We went over on Sycamore. My mother was involved in starting the Neighborhood Information Center with Sister Despensata. You're all too young to know that name, but she was legendary on the east side of Buffalo. And I would work with my mom there. We'd go visit people who were lonely, seniors by themselves, who we need to bring food and clothes to. That's what I did as a kid. So this is embedded in me. So I know there's people who needed more than I did. We knew that. But sometimes our friends, even today, no matter how hard you work, it just seems like you're not getting ahead. That's why I outlined a vision based on my life's experiences here and what I saw my neighbors going through. I want a place where middle-class parents don't have to dread checking that bank account and they're going to be able to cover their monthly expenses, or that choice of having to pay for medical bills and utilities. And are you ever going to have that luxury of sending your kids to a week-long camp in the summertime? Can you pay for your child care? My God, child care is so expensive. It's cheaper to go to one of our community colleges, even our state universities. It's cheaper to do that than pay for child care. It'd be cheaper. We could just put them into college right away. Hadn't thought of that. Baby college. But those are real expenses for real people. And there was a time when everybody believed they'd be able to buy a home. That was success, right? That's how you were judged. My parents started in a trailer park off Electric Avenue. I was just there about a week and a half ago. I stopped at the Apollo Diner. They have great fish fries on Friday. Hadn't had one in a while. But there's still people there. My parents got out. They got that little apartment in Woodlawn where I was born. They got that little Cape Cod where 6 kids came along. And then they were able to progress as my family's success grew. So many people today, young people, aren't even sure they can afford an apartment and get out of their parents' house, much less be able to set aside all the money they need for that down payment, for that American dream of home ownership. And we have not built generational wealth in our black and brown communities as a result of this, and they just are never going to get ahead and be able to pass something down to their kids. I don't want that to be their existence any longer. That's unfair. And we have to keep fighting for them. And that's what my budget was all about. I talked about what it's like to struggle. But can you imagine if we can tell people, with the budget we just enacted and I just signed, you could have upwards of $5,000 more in your pocket. That is something that people get excited about. And let's start with bringing the middle-class tax rate to the lowest it's been in 70 years for over 8 million New Yorkers. That sounds good. That's how you put money back in people's pockets. $55 million in relief right here. $55 million for over 500,000 Western New Yorkers. We got that done. The state's first ever inflation refund. Everybody's like, what's the inflation refund? We never heard of it. That's because you never had it before. We thought of it ourselves. Because of inflation, drove up the cost of everything, your kids' sneakers and backpacks and everything you have to buy. We collected more in sales tax revenue than we expected. Our comptroller knows how this works. So we collected $3 billion more than we even anticipated in our projections because New Yorkers paid more than they expected as well. And I said, this doesn't belong to us. This is their money. They paid more. Let's give it back to them. That's the inflation refund I'm talking about. putting up to $400 in pockets of people, $153 million right back here in Western New York. $153 million back in the pockets for more than 1 million people here in Western New York. And I'll say it for the 450th time, I'm New York's first mom governor, okay? There literally are people keeping track of that all across the state. But what that means is I know what it's like to be a new mom. I know how expensive it is. You literally buy the clothes 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months. I mean, they grow that fast. You finally get around to getting them out of diapers. I thought we were going to be rich when we stopped buying diapers and formula. Like, yes, yes, money back in our pockets. So we have said our younger families are the ones who spend the most. How about $1,000 back in the pockets of families with a 4-year-old or under, and $500 for kids up to the age of 16? Got that done. And you add it up, that adds up to over $60 million, not statewide. That's for Western New York families, another tax credit for them as well. 207,000 children right here in Western New York. Also, school lunches and breakfasts. For some little kids, their tummies are growling during school because they didn't have lunch. And I will say this, and I've heard this from adults who had to live with this, there's a stigma associated with the fact that if you're one of those kids who has a subsidized meal and everybody knows about it, you're more likely to skip lunch because you're embarrassed. And I said this was going to be something I'm going to equalize across the state. The state of New York will cover every child's breakfast and lunch, $1,600 back for each child. It's not just the money, time. Remember all this, moms, dads, scrambling around. Did you buy the Lunchable? Do you have anything to throw in the plastic bag and pack it all up? And, you know, just more time for you to just be with your kids in the morning. Let them not worry about these things. So I fought hard for that. We got it done. As I said, it's $1,600 a family. So also, that all adds up to about $5,000. You have a few kids, you're over $5,000. And that's a real difference. And those who say, oh, it's just a gimmick, doesn't add up to much, really? Have you walked through a grocery store with someone and said, how would you like another $400? Oh, I see you have a toddler. How does another $1,000 sound to you? I have done this. I have gone in the Wegmans here. I've gone in stores in Brooklyn and Harlem. I've gone everywhere. I like to shop. And I see the prices. They're jaw-droppingly high. But you tell someone as you're pushing that cart around the store, how would you feel about this? They are ecstatic that someone understands their pain and doing something about it. And we're investing $2.2 billion for child care all across the state, more money for child care vouchers to help with them, more capital funding for child care facilities to improve the existing ones as well. And we're announcing for the first time something called the baby benefit. All right, what's that? $1,800 to families with new babies who are on public assistance. $1,800 more. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Help them with the financial stress. That's 100,000 lower income families. You help them with everything they need because you never can have enough diapers. I know this, but also I know because my daughter's expecting a baby. And I'm very excited to be a grandma again. And I just did her baby shower. And I packed up lots of diapers and those little onesies and all those little things. So I'm very excited about this. So I'm also New York's first grandmother, governor, too. But this is the vision I have laid out. And I think about families like Christina and others who you're going to hear from, what it's like, what you worry about, what keeps you up at night, and how you look to your government leaders who, if they are really, truly public servants, they're serving you. They're looking out for your family. That's why I say your family is my fight. That is the vision I've laid out for this state, the vision I've laid out for Buffalo, a place where working families don't just survive, they thrive, a place where a zip code doesn't determine your child's future, and a place you're so proud to call home. I promised a more affordable New York, where middle-class families, working-class families could just breathe a little bit easier. And Buffalo, I'm here to tell you, We got it done. Thank you very much. Let me bring up Christina Cruz to tell her story. Christina, come on up here. 37 weeks expecting.
Yes.
Just to be sure. Any doctors in the house? Okay, we're good. You're going to be okay, right?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Cruz. I'm a longtime patient of Neighborhood Health Center and born and raised in Buffalo. Please bear with me. I'm nervous. This is my first time doing something like this. So a little bit about myself. I'm 36. I have a 16-year-old daughter and expecting number 2. I like to say that this is my little miracle baby because 2 years ago, I was battling breast cancer and I had to go through intense chemo. They did state that my chances of having another child was kind of slim to none, but here I am and expecting another one, and yeah. Thank you. 37 weeks, and as a mom myself, I know how hard the first years are of raising a child, how tired, how expensive everything is, how much help you need. For all the joy and excitement there is, it can sometimes get hard throughout the day and challenging with finances and such. My experience is like so many others who faced the same challenges every day. As a New York mom, I feel fortunate to live in a state where we have a governor, the first mom governor, who gets it and knows how important it is for our physical and mental health to have support, that it does take a village to raise a child in this state. And with this year's budget, I'm so glad to see that Governor Hochul is keeping new moms like me on top of mind and making sure that New York State is the best place to raise a healthy baby and a young child at each stage of their life. Sorry. Okay. One of the number one concerns that new moms have is how will we make it work financially, and we all know this. The new baby bonus, which will provide $1,800 to eligible new moms, will make a difference for so many of us. And thanks to Buffalo Prenatal Perinatal Network and Governor Hochul for standing up for us and fighting for the families every day, we are not doing this alone. And thank you to Governor Hochul for doing all you can to make New York an even better place to have a baby and raise a family. Thank you.
And now please welcome to the stage Trina Burris, President of the United Way of Buffalo and Erie County.
Good afternoon, everybody. So Christina kept telling me she was nervous. Yeah, okay. I saw no evidence of that. And I wish I had actually gone right after the governor. So thank you so much, Governor Hochul and your team, for having me here today. I'm really honored to be speaking not only on behalf of our community, but on behalf of the nonprofit colleagues of mine who know how important all this help is. So for those of you who follow what United Way does, we do everything we do for families called ALICE, which are asset limited, income constrained, employed. And so as the acronym would imply, it's about people who are working really hard every single day in our community to try to not only just make ends meet, but to thrive and be happy and successful with their family and their children. And so in our county, 42% of our community struggle to make that happen. And so the things that are contained in the governor's budget are going to go a super long way in making that load a little lighter for that 42%. And so, Governor, again, we thank you so much for that. There's going to be a theme here, guys, in case you were wondering. So at United Way, we have a program called Work-Life Solutions, and in that work that we're doing, we have an opportunity to hear firsthand and to help firsthand those families that are having these struggles that we're talking about. And so often, a key part of that program that gets used and has been used over 1,000 times, families just need money. That's it. No matter what the issue is, money sometimes is what is needed. And so, Governor, when you're giving these dollar amounts that may seem small in their own, in their collective, they are meaningful. In our Work-Life Solutions program, folks often borrow $1,000 from our partner MBT Bank in order to meet those needs. And again, we've done over 1,000 of those loans. So that tells you how many car repairs are needed, how much child care needs to be paid for, things connected to your house. These are all things that are affecting lives every day and preventing people from showing up the way that they need or want to at their jobs. And so when the governor expands the tax credit, that helps with financial security. When the governor does things like put money in the budget for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, that helps students be ready for school by sending books out to children every month with their name on it. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter. I'm telling you, she loves to see mail with her name on it. Her granddad and I are less enamored with seeing our names with mail on it. But we have, I have people in the choir who feel my pain. So for United Way, because of what the governor is doing, we are in 35 zip codes, 2,200 children that are receiving a book every month. That's over 7,000 books just since we've started. Y'all should clap for that. Including in rural communities. So we know that the community is vast and needs our help. When the governor puts money in the budget for healthy communities and universal school meals, we know that that means students are going to be ready to receive the education which they so deserve and so want. And then lastly, when the governor gives money for inflation reduction, she is getting after resilient communities. Those ALICE folks we talked about, it's worse than just not being able to meet a $400 budget or whatever the data is. It's about all the trains have to run on time. Nothing can go wrong, not a snowstorm, nothing. Everything has to go right. And when the governor puts in all these components and fights for us in the budget, she is a person, a mom, a grandmother that recognizes that. And on behalf of particularly of the nonprofit sector, Governor Hochul, I really want to give you a heartfelt thank you for that as well. And so lastly, I'll leave you with two things. One woman that we work with was telling us about what these sorts of things will mean for her and what it means. She said it jokingly, but I will tell you because it is meaningful, that it means she'll be able to buy berries for her 2 sons when she goes to the grocery store. That's real. That is real. So, and the last thing I will leave you with is in Buffalo, we are fearless when it comes down to driving in the winter, because what we know every time we get behind the wheel and there's a snowstorm, that if the car starts to get unsteady, that we have to drive into it in order to come out of it. And Governor, that's what you've done with this budget. You've driven in to the problems and created action that helps our community stay in control of our overall destiny and our ability to thrive. So one last time, I told you there was a theme. Governor, thank you.
Thank you, folks. Very good. Thank you, folks. That concludes today's announcements. Please give another round of applause for Governor Hochul.